Hi, I'm Rebecca Roy. I manage the Park Interpretive Program for Vermont State Parks, and I'm here today at beautiful Jamaica State Park in Jamaica, Vermont, which is in the southeastern part of the state. And together today, we're going to explore how the West River has been rippling past people here for over 8,000 years. During our time together today, I'm standing on the unceded ancestral land of the Sukoki Abenaki people, so I want to keep that in mind as we're having our little discussion today. So Jamaica State Park is a beautiful park. We have fantastic camping here, recreation on the river. There's hiking trails, a multi-use trail that's great for family bike rides. There's lots of reasons to enjoy Jamaica State Park. It became a state park in 1969, and prior to that, this area was already a very popular day-use destination. People came here to swim and recreate in the West River, to picnic, to hike, and so it was really a natural progression for it to become a state park. Before that, it was a log landing in our day-use area. So you can imagine there was a lot of fill and impact at that time. That means logs were piled up there before they were moved for transport. And before that, it was a train yard because there was a railroad that went right through the park. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of fill that was added at that time to make room for the train. So there's been a lot of changes in this area over time. But historically, there were some archaeological digs done along this corridor that found Sukoki Abenaki burial sites and also historical artifacts. So unfortunately, those were not very well documented, but everybody kind of had this knowledge and information that this was an area that the Abenaki people have been living in for a very, very long time. So in 2010, our pump station failed for our septic in our day-use area, and we needed to replace the pump station and the septic tank. And so we did an archaeological dig in the area where that was going to be installed. So right in the day-use area. And we had the UVM archaeologists come and do the dig, and they found some interesting stuff. So as I said, there was a lot of fill that was there. They had to dig down through the fill, and they found the original soil layer. And what they found there was so interesting because they found evidence of fire. The earth was scorched in some places. And have you ever put a stone, or if you had a stone in a fire ring, maybe at your campsite or Jamaica, where it gets really hot and the stone actually breaks? They found blackened, broken stone, so they knew there were campfires in this area. First really interesting discovery. They went on to find a lot of stone shards and points and discovered that this area, in our day-use area, was a place where the Sukoki Abenaki were working on making tools en masse. So a lot of people were working on making tools. There were so many pieces of stone and points that were there. So there were chips that had been broken off and discarded all over the place. So that's an interesting thing. They found other cool tools too. They found woodworking tools and tanning tools for hides, including this partial drill that would have been used to drill holes in animal hides, which is really cool. So they know that a lot of Abenaki people lived here, and some of these tools were over 3,000 years old. So we know that the Sukoki Abenaki have been living here for at least 3,000 years. And other digs that have been done in the vicinity of Jamaica and other areas indicate that the Abenaki people have been here for 8,000 years. So I'm jumping to conclusions, but it's very likely that the Abenaki people have been here for over 8,000 years. Looking around, you can see it's kind of a natural place to want to reside because you have the river, you have a nice flat area around the river, but it's raised up enough that it's not prone to flooding. There's wonderful resources. So naturally a nice place to live. People still want to live in Jamaica for all of these reasons and more. But another really, really cool thing that they found was a piece of pottery, a small shard of pottery. And what's interesting about the pottery is it's painted, there's thumbprints on it, and the style of it is reminiscent of the Haudenosaunee style of pottery. And the Haudenosaunee is a nation that lived west of Vermont. So we know that there was influence between the Abenaki and the Haudenosaunee that this type of pottery shard was found here. Well, and not just that, some of the stones that were found here do not originate in Vermont. They traveled from really, really far. Some from the Hudson Valley, some from the Lake Champlain Valley, some from the Connecticut Valley, and even more interesting, there are some that are only found in northern Maine. So we know that the Abenaki people were traveling throughout this area a lot, and that they had these different types of stone. And I'm standing next to the West River. So you can imagine this was and continues to be a major travel route. You know what Vermont topography looks like. It's like this, mountains and valleys. And even today, when I drove here, I drove along rivers to find my way to Jamaica. When we drive around Vermont, we're driving next to rivers. Our rivers are still our travelways, and historically they have always been. So the Sakokee Abenaki people paddled their canoes upstream to Lake Champlain, downstream to the Connecticut River Valley, and beyond. So this was a major, major travel route. So here at Jamaica State Park, we have perfect elements of everything needed to live here. You've got the main travel route, you've got the resources in the forest, you've got the community, and you also have the Salmon Hole, which today is a really popular swimming area. But with a name like Salmon Hole, you can imagine what it is well known for. Fishing, it's a great fishing resource because it's a deep hole in the river. The thing about large fish living in the river, not to give away any secrets, but they like to hide in these deep, deep holes. So this has always been a great resource for sustenance for catching fish. And the fact that during the archaeological dig, they found the net sinkers, stone net sinkers, we know that the Sakokee Abenaki were likely fishing in the Salmon Hole. So today you can come to Jamaica State Park, you can walk in that day-use area and know that you're walking on thousands of years of history of Abenaki people living here. And you can come and swim and sit down right next to the West River and think about how these waters have rippled past people for more than 8,000 years. The next time you get out in the woods near your home, I hope you look around and look for evidence of people that have lived there in the past. Thanks for joining me and have fun out there.